We're entering a danger zone, folks. Gotta keep safe. This new Gnod album, really good. I reviewed Gnod's album last year and I really liked their modern and very politically charged implementation of styles of industrial rock and noise rock and drone. However, I did think that over the course of the album it did start to peter out a little bit in terms of its energy and its angst and its rage. This new album here is like an improvement on all fronts, really. It's so good, honestly. I just had to not really write a script. I had to just kind of yell it to you guys, because that's pretty much what they're doing on this album, and I thought it would be very fitting to just channel the spirit. These guys just create this titanic, colossal, monstrous noise rock powerhouse that just is like a big mechanical, big monster crushed to death with the jaws of a mechanical monster looking like Riff Raff's teeth, like a factory-esque robotic Paul Bunyan. Shit just flies off the wall on this one. This thing starts off with a 15-minute opener. As if that wasn't enough of a power move on itself, the track itself is just a sprawling, marching tempo-esque industrial noise piece that is just stomping on the ground, leaving imprints like footsteps wherever it goes. It is a dense composition. The percussion is just on point. It really matches the factory-like cold and frigid and brutal ethos that this album's trying to put up. I like using the word ethos. Among the composition is a lot of noise, very high-pitched screeching like a Tunnel Canary live set or Paul Dolden sound piece or the inside of Steve Albini's pizza oven, as our frontman here yells things like "No space!" which leads me to believe that perhaps he's part of a furniture moving company and he's been commissioned to move some couches into a very small apartment and there's just not enough room for it, and I would understand why he would be so furious at that. That would definitely get me quite vexed. However, after this 15-minute titan of an opening track, we have Europa, a very tense but still cold and frigid sound piece that kind of breaks up the noise and helps this album not feel too one note. I love an album that is relentlessly noisy, but there are cases where sometimes too much of it for too long can start to become a little grating, even just a little bit boring, but this album is definitely not that. The next track, The Voice from Nowhere, just continues this angst, this brutality with the clanging of bells and the clattering of steel pipes, what sounds like steel pipes. The percussion on this album is just on point. I love it. I think it's some of the most well-chosen and well-recorded percussion on any record I've heard this year, aside from maybe Sons of Kemet. It's very bleak, it's very desolate, and continuing that theme is the track A Body, which features this monologue that sounds like it was ripped from a Bear Grylls documentary, but if it was like about the apocalypse or something, and it's so futile. It is literally like walking into the wilderness, and the wilderness is literally telling you to piss off. It is like the wilderness is furious at you, and you have no choice but to be furious back at it. Violent weather storming in, deadly animals threatening you because you're intruding their territory. It's like Mother Nature getting revenge on humanity for all the industrial chaos that it's thrust upon it. And Gnod seemed to have this very notable sense of self-awareness, even in a tongue-in-cheek manner. You definitely know that if you looked at the album title of their last record, but of course when you listen to the track itself that is called Uncle Frank Says Turn It Down, you'll know that maybe it's not as comedic as you first thought. It is like a coping mechanism for all the despair and the restraint, the crushing angst that will follow, almost in the way that a group like Have a Nice Life might do that. But as we all know, despite the humorous titles that they give their tracks, Have a Nice Life are not Garfunkel and Oates. This Gnod album is unbelievably good. It knows what it's setting out to do, it's incredibly convincing with its execution, and it was so good that I'm even wearing the yellow flannel for this review, which is quite the accolade. I'm taking the piss. It's a strong 8 to a light 9 out of 10.